swimming the forbidden zone. They were captured by the shrewdness of apes. But what the hell is the shrewdness of apes? And why is Taylor wearing a man frock and saying city looks like Fraggle Rock? Did the Chambers, did the Innsmouth, Mr. Spock? These are just the facts we try not to mock on. The minute of the apes. 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 Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Friday episode of MotA-Minute, the podcast where we break down every damn dirty minute of the Planet of the Apes movies. I'm your host, Sean, and join me as always are my two co-hosts, Richard and Todd. What's up, guys?
Hello, Sean.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yay, Friday.
It's almost the weekend.
I know. We're going to get done with this and we'll go have some drinks. I mean, like more drinks than we've been having.
No, I don't.
All right. Before we get into this minute, though, we want to thank the Star Wars Minute guys, Pete and Alex, for inviting us to the family. If you want to see more movies by minute movies or reviews, or what do we call it? Podcast. Sorry. I guess that's the word you use. The thing that we're doing.
You know what? We're not going to go have any more drinks after this.
Yeah.
Sean's
No,
already.
seriously.
Well, go to moviesbyminute.com. There you go.
Yeah, go there. There are tons of them. And I have a tendency to mention the same ones over and over, so I'm going to try and think of some different ones.
There's a goofy one.
Godfather.
A goofy one?
Like the Goofy movie? The Goofy
I mean, I just glanced at it like the other day, and I noticed there was one for like Goofy, like the Goofy movies, I think.
That's awesome.
Damn.
I know that the typical ones we always say, there's Star Wars, there's Godfather, there's Back to the Future, there's Indiana Jones, there's Batman, which being a Batman freak, I need to listen to that, and I just never have. Have you ever listened to it?
I'm listening to the new one, the ones that they're doing with Batman
Right.
Begins and all that.
Oh.
I didn't know if there was an 89 one. I'm listening to the Batman Begins.
How long ago did they start that?
Well, they're still in the first movie, and they're not past the courtroom scene.
Oh.
I think, or they're close to the courtroom scene where Bruce comes in and wants to take down Jack.
Oh my goodness!
Joe Chill, sorry.
Chill. I will be jumping in on that quickly. But you can go to that site, and seriously, it is a massive, ever-growing list, and it's even down to, I know Clueless does one.
I think Groundhog Day is on there.
Yeah.
I wanted probably dirty old, grumpy old men, all that kind of stuff.
There's all kinds of things on there. If you like a movie, there's a good chance that it's on there.
And if you like a movie and it's not on there, why don't you do your own?
Bingo!
Join the family. All right. Speaking of which, we're going to start minute 50 with Cornelius giggling, and we're going to end with Cornelius fascinated by a paper airplane. And as of this minute 50, we have 2 living humans, 2 dead, a shrewdness of ape, and a gaggle of humanoids.
So right up front, Dodge was killed in the hunt. What happened to Landon? We know officially. Now, we saw stuff in the hunt, but we officially get Taylor telling us that Dodge was killed.
Yeah, he says
He's dead.
Dodge is dead. We know Dodge is dead. And then he literally asks what happened to Landon, and they get the shaking head. So our count is kind of staying the same. We've got 2 live, 2 dead.
True.
Officially,
It's our first official count of
Landon, at this point, Landon is kind of in limbo because we saw him hurt in earlier minutes, falling off the cliff into the river-ish area, and because we don't know he's dead, we're keeping him alive right now.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
Yeah, so Cornelius had finished the last minute saying back on that planet you came from, and he kind of gets dismissive. He goes, maybe he is intelligent, but he's also crazy. We're establishing that this idea of planets, aliens are crazy to the archaeologist,
right?
Cornelius. And
so
then
is he like changing his view on this? Like, okay, no, maybe he's smart enough to be intelligent, but it's not and it's his intelligence is deviant because he's crazy. So where's he making these slight, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Where is he making these distinctions on being able to communicate, but now your communication is crazy? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, he's doubted Taylor, despite the fact that Taylor can offer a retort to thought.
Yep.
Right.
Why does he think he's crazy? Is it
what
just because he doesn't
St.
adhere
Fort Wayne,
to
Indiana, or
and if you're truly a scientist at that point, and if you're an animal psychologist and you're an archaeologist, your practice would tell you to ask a question that follows and prods for the next logical conclusion, would it not? And instead, he just is dismissive.
Right. And Zira kind of tries to pull him back. Oh, Cornelius,
Right.
please, like just keep going with it. And then you mentioned the line, right? Because Taylor writes it now. Dodge was killed in the hunt. What happened to Landon? And Zira repeats that, reading the note.
Landon.
Dodge was killed in the hunt. What happened to Landon? Okay. I'm going to have to assume that there was a prior note that established that these were names and names of people
That's true.
and traveling companions, because otherwise,
What
this
does
is just
Landon
something
mean to
only the
her?
audience knows. It's
Yeah.
not something the audience and Taylor. It's not something Zira and Cornelius should know.
Well,
He must have mentioned it early in the notes about the planets.
and we've also gone over this to some extent, that this script does not treat it like it's a real conversation. That's often informational things that are given to propel the story.
Yeah.
It does not adhere to the idea of allow the conversations to be actually between the characters. Instead, it's exposition that's moving the plot.
Yeah.
Because again, this was the official "he's dead. What happened to him?" It poses a question
I need to
that
get all
has
my
to be
facts
answered.
out there. I need to set
Right.
up where we are again so that I can get into the rest of the movie. Yeah.
Right.
So he asked what happened. Dodge was killed in the hunt. What happened to Landon? Zira reads that, and then Zira in earnest says, "I don't know." Like,
Yeah.
So, how did Zira get a hold of this particular human to study? She went to the surgery. She saw the transfusion.
She was lucky, I guess.
She asked for the one that had the funny clothes, and then she just decides to take him under his wing.
We never know. I mean, you can always build that backstory that she's told people if you ever see something odd, if you see something special, if you see
Right.
them behaving.
Bring them to me. I'm
Right.
the specialist on
And
that.
so he came in with his man brassiere loincloth, and
His,
they said, "Here you go."
his Fred Flintstone over
Yeah,
one
that's
shoulder.
a good way of putting it. It is
Yeah.
a Fred Flintstone.
So Cornelius is then dismissive again, and they fell out of the sky with you.
Yes.
But nothing can fly. That's a scientific impossibility, Richard. Come on.
And why fly? Where would it get you?
Well, this made Taylor kind of angry.
Yeah.
Not flew.
Yeah, he made sure. I didn't crash here. We came here deliberately. Well, I mean, I crashed here. But
So then whenever she asks him, why fly? Where would it get you? Now, that's at the point when he throws the paper airplane, but
again,
he also has a weird response that he points to the ground. He thrusts a finger down to the ground when she says something around this area. Why fly? Where would it get you? And he points to the ground as though
where does it get you? Get you here?
a flight to me gets you there.
He's trying to show point A.
Maybe he's saying
Maybe.
my flight
Right.
got me here.
And maybe that is it, but it's a really weird response.
Where does
Why-
it get
where
you?
would
Get you here.
Hell.
Yeah. So Zira's reading his letter. Not flew, and Cornelius says flight is a scientific impossibility. So they have a concept of flight.
They understand the term flight
so
and
I'm
understand what it
assuming
is.
there
So
are no
that,
birds in
but
this
no,
world?
if
We
they
do see-
understand,
We do see birds, don't we? We've seen birds.
I don't know if we've
I
seen
don't know if
birds,
we've
but
seen-
if they understand flight is an impossibility, you have to understand the concept of flight. Therefore, there could be birds that tell you what flight is. They're at the point now where they don't think that they could ever fly. They have nothing.
Do they think they can't fly or nothing can fly?
Well,
Because he's so shocked whenever Taylor throws the airplane.
but that's also making something fly other than a bird. I could see that they have birds at this point to show them that the only things that can fly are birds.
It can only happen naturally. It can't happen unnaturally. Or
Right.
whatever. It's not manufactured,
Right.
ape made.
It's just so funny that flight is a scientific impossibility, and Zira says, and even if it weren't, why fly? Where would it get you?
Yes.
How big
Is
is
their
rea-
world?
well, there's
Yeah.
a world. We went back on this idea that, they have a sun. Do they know they're on a planet? Do they know they're on a flat Earth? Do they know this? What do they know about the reality? Because she clearly, flight is not going to take you anywhere. It almost implies that this village is the only village and the only place that they are ever.
And it's a really big village to be that closed off because they've
Insulated, yeah.
yeah,
Insular.
thank you. That's exactly the term. My brain wouldn't latch onto it. But you start thinking they got hunts for these kind of things. They've got photography. They've got all these different things in this teeny tiny village.
Got lots of scientists. It's like a scientific village is
Yeah.
what it is, because we haven't seen at this point anybody that's not associated with running a council, being a scientist, being a surgeon, or being a jailer. They're all
Right.
focused on taking care of these humanoids that they go out and hunt in a field for some reason.
Yeah, we saw
every
the
now and
crops
then.
outside that we couldn't tell if they were trapped crops to be traps for humans or actual literal crops for them. But I love that he just forms a paper airplane and uses it. Like, oh, look at this.
He started folding that. He started folding that the instant they go flights is scientific. Oh, no.
Hang on, I'm going to show you.
Hang on, while you're talking. Bing! Throw it right the instant my sentence is done.
Again,
you
he's
can't do
just
this,
such a smart ass.
He is. Well, I did wonder how many takes that also took to get that
to
paper.
fly right
The
perfectly.
perfect flight.
When I throw a paper airplane, 9 times out of 10, it just goes
Right into the
boom,
ground?
right into
True.
the ground.
No
Yeah,
side.
I have the same problem.
And so, sure enough, that thing flies straight up there, almost hits the wall, falls down. Cornelius can pick it up and look at it. It's not an impossibility, but at the same time, that doesn't prove that your theory is correct, that you somehow are in a vessel that got you here.
From another planet.
It proves you can fold a piece of paper and
make
throw
it
it
Make
through
it
the air.
glide. Make it glide.
Yes.
Not actually fly.
I
That's
mean,
different from a planetary
That was
travel.
that paper airplane was one take. So yeah, they probably had to do that. Like, did he just really nail it on the first one?
I
That
doubt it.
paper airplane coming to the wall.
I'm sure there was a lot of cussing that went on. Shit.
So it kind of hits the wall right where that weird coat rack thing
thing with the
is.
leather
Yeah.
collars or whatever hanging down there. Yeah.
But then and what ends the minute, and I'm not saying we're ending today's discussion, but Cornelius picks up that paper airplane, and he truly looks at it as though it is something he has
Fascinating.
never
A marvel.
seen before.
Yeah,
A
that's
marvel.
That's a note I had here. They have guns. They've mastered fire and horses. I'm assuming metallurgy, since they have metal cages. They've created paper, but a paper airplane blew his mind.
Well, there's even the moment when it hits, you see Cornelius look down, and then he looks up at Zira, and
she's
Zira is
just as
also
surprised.
making the same amaze.
Right.
Like, what was that?
And Richard's got it paused right there. We're looking
Just
at
her
Zira's
eyes are
face are
bugged
just
out.
wide-eyed.
Her eyes are just wide open, and that's when Cornelius picks up the paper airplane and begins to kind of inspect.
So they definitely have no understanding of flight beyond potentially birds.
Natural,
Period.
Right.
Natural. That's a good way of putting it. Because everything about it floors them. So no child has ever tried.
Magically just made something, folded up, then threw
Well,
it.
to glide, not even fly. I mean, these are the kinds of, a frisbee,
Yeah.
a baseball.
Well,
Hell,
even think
just
about-
a piece of paper floating on the wind.
I was thinking, when I was a kid, you did that, and it was like a straight piece of paper that you split in half to a certain point and bent it, and then you dropped it, and it almost does like
When
a
it
little
spun
helicopter
around, yeah.
type thing.
yeah.
That doesn't take the understanding of flight to come up with that. And so you're telling me no one's done this to this
Well,
point.
and the shape of the paper is, as we know, kind of the shape of an airplane-esque.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Why would Cornelius even recognize that shape if
True.
if he has no idea of what flight is
Or is he recognizing it, or just looking at it like, oh my God, so there's a nozzle here, and there are wings here, and there's a
It's
body.
heavier on the front.
Right.
and
it's just
lighter in the back.
but I mean, we're trying to move a point forward. Taylor's trying to make himself believable, and so he's doing everything he can, all the tricks that he can to make sure that he's believable.
And
he's just made something astounding to the two of them.
And it's a beautiful example of the show me, don't tell
Mm-hmm.
me. He for once is not being, he's a smartass in that he throws it,
Right.
but at the same time, he completely gets something that is an action that says, look what I can do, you can't do it.
Improving flight that you're saying is impossible.
Right. And so it's a beautiful illustration of that.
I'm so frustrated with Taylor for when he didn't have the ability to speak, and he didn't have a pad and a piece of paper, and so he kind of mimics with his hands at one point. I'm really just surprised he didn't do more tricks or stunts or tapping on the bars in some sort of
agree.
metered fashion or
Yeah.
something just to
1, 2,
communicate
1, 2, 3,
to
1,
get
2, 3,
Zira's
4.
attention or anybody's attention that he's intelligent. But I mean, if he'd been that smart, he might have raised the attention of Dr. Zaius.
If he'd been that smart, they never would have left the space capsule in the water they had. They would have stayed in the forbidden zone. That would have been smart.
If he'd been that smart, he may not have been part of ANSA to begin with.
Once again, we're truly finding out the truth of why he's on that planet. No one wanted him. They asked him to leave so much so that they gave him a spaceship. Get on it, smoke your cigars, and go away.
We'll see you 1,000 years in the future.
He's the star of the movie. He's the
And
one
we-
people came to turn out. And
Everybody hates him.
The more these minutes have gone on, I just get the sense that, like, wow,
What?
Taylor's like the worst thing in this movie. At least his character is.
And to be fair,